You don't have to put up with abuse. If the relationship has deteriorated to a point of obvious neglect, people are failing to do things that they could or should or normally would, and their personas changed under different circumstances, and they're just not being the person that you met, that's normally a sign of sin. Sin has broken in, negligence has taken hold. They are not going to play a proper role consistently in the relationship anymore. Psychologists and psychiatrists can call this narcissism and other personality trait disorders. You can hear the Australian native birds in the background. But I think it's easier, and this is just my opinion, to call it sin. Now, this sin works in ways in which you can't see it. It can be very covert. Covert meaning the abuse is happening. Okay, the psychological abuse is happening through negligences and through deliberate, willful actions, like your keys might go missing off the table, and you spend an hour or two looking for them, or the day looking for them, and all of a sudden in the afternoon they weren't back. They're back where they were originally. That kind of abuse. Mind games might be another way of describing that kind of aggravation, frustration. And so the covert sinner, the person that's a sinner that knows how to hide it, you'll find a lot of religious people are capable of this. They're in the church doing all the right things, but underneath they despise the pastor or different people in the church. They do things to disrupt certain elements and activities within the church. But nobody's aware of it, probably not even the person doing it, because it's covert. It's working underneath the surface. It's happening under the surface. But it's having a tremendous effect. There's people that do this well. I know, because I used to be one. I used to be able to covertly disrupt and upset situations to cause disruption. And it can work in micro-incremental ways. You can do 10 step-by-step elements of sin over a long period of time to get the final result, to break a person or to cause a person not to want to stay in that environment. It doesn't have to be a big blow up, it can be micro incremental. I got people that I've helped that are in careers and jobs. There's a sinful leader in a place of authority that just causes misery and heartache and difficulty for people that are under their authority. You see and hear this all the time. There's mothers with children that have put themselves under the authority of the child, and the child becomes a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. The child thinks it's the parent, interferes in everything the parent does. Adult children as well, it goes right through their lifestyle. Once all that stuff starts, it's very hard to stop. So covert sin is ever present. I've had partners that have had habits that I've asked to for them to at least minimize the habits to what would you say, a tolerable proportion, and they've been unable to do that. In fact, they've usually increased, particularly under pressure. They've increased the habit. And I've just had to say, look, sorry, I'm going to have to jettison this relationship and find something more suitable. Now that sounds terrible, but let me remind you, you've only got one life. And who you are is how you'll behave. And it's the same with the person that you're with. If they're not behaving correctly, then that's just not by accident. That's the person. That is who the person is. That's the person. You're not seeing things, you're not imagining things. Things aren't going through a phase. That's the person in action. That's what you've got yourself into. And now, like the people that went before you, the same things are happening again. But this time with you. Now you might be wiser than the last lot of people. A lot of these people don't get discarded. They cause circumstances in the relationship where they get reverse discarded. They want the other person to get them to go. That's how they fly. They want the other person to discard them because it plays into their victim mentality. It helps them to carry on with an element of legitimacy, their victim mentality. So discernment is a very important part of all this, because if you can't discern the abuser and their subtle forms of wearing you down, then you'll go on for years. Some people have lived with this for lifetimes, and they've ended up worn out, tired and old before their time. Sense it, discern it, start to detach, call it out on that person. If they don't change, separate, go no contact. If there's children involved, deal with that at a distance from that person without being or causing any harm to the children. and never, ever, ever go back.